Back to a plane flying over, and what the U.S. likes to drop on people, pamphlets. So you're dropping maxi pads, eh? Because that's what that word originally, you drop pieces of paper saying, do not invade this country or you will be fired upon. In which, that if you take it and you throw it in the fire and you burn it and never read it, but one person reads it, it's that one person's responsibility, regardless to prison, being a prisoner or not being a prisoner, you have to abide by law. So, with that being said, things in Kuwait fell apart and whatnot. It just so happens a lot of them ended up in unemployment. So a lot of people are like looking at me like, one, how do you know this? And two, how do you know it's a fact? Well, one, you wrote it down in a book, or what looks like a book. Two, an investigator always knows one thing, regardless to if the investigator runs every country in the world. Let people run their mouths. You want to run your mouth? I'm going to put people around you to sit there and listen. They're going to wear, whatever they have to wear. They may wear a nice necklace with a nice diamond with a little micro recorder in the middle. And when I say recorded, these days, recorders are as tiny as little dots. That you take a pen and you just hit a piece of paper and make a dot. Okay, when you anyway, it's all recorded, taken off a micro dot, which is often which I'm not going to explain, but it's interesting. And to take a micro dot and hand it to a certain person, that person can get the information off that, which really isn't information, and know what that person did from a far distance and whatnot. A little different for some people, but the information was written down accurately and correctly. As far as how Arlington Inspector got involved in this, Europe didn't want to deal with this problem no more. It's at the point in time, it was over a 50-year investigation. They didn't want to deal with it because when you start talking Kate Middleton, you start talking about William and whatnot. If you ever notice, they don't say their last names. That's because they're still prisoners. Kate Middleton's not established, but said her last name. Lee Race established, said her last name. So, is she a prisoner? Isn't she a prisoner? Well, messing yourself up and listening to stupid people from this country who are escaped convicts, you tend to get the idea you might want to not go on camera and not be videoed and not actually say where your whereabouts are. Did World War I, II happen? No. Not the way they explain it. And no, it didn't actually happen. Is it over? No. The 20-year war has been a continuous war ever since it has actually happened. One country that thinks it can roll over all of them. It's mainly stating the Netherlands. With this being false because the Netherlands ended up being bombed by the United States at that point in time, even though it was European state arrest. The prisoners were told, you either fight or you won't be here. So when you start pointing fingers, Trump, you're protecting the same people that bombed the living crap out of the country that you lived in. But at the same time, I'm not going to say it's the Netherlands' fault. I'm going to say it's British fault. Even though I might be a little bit British in the sense of how to describe a person's looks and, where they came from. The reason I say that is simple. You ran your mouth too much around pretty much me at that point in time. So when you go in those rooms and you see those coffins and they're all lit up and it's warm or it's very, very cold, you don't run your mouth, okay? Because not everyone's dead, dying, or sleeping. Being that I have that on recording and whatnot, and a lot of people are like, well, why so long is this investigation going on? Mainly because Trump didn't want to handle the investigation. it doesn't stop at just UCIC. It goes into the British bank industry, or delirious industry. It goes into the banking sector in Europe, which is it's not government held. It's not a government facility. It's not a business facility. It's not a corporation. And pretty much everyone that's pre-doned at that time, and that's normally less than 3 people that have to constantly stay around one another, and it can't just be anyone they want. They're the ones that normally sit down and they run all the accounting facilities and the electric and the oil and the gas, and what to do with dirty water, what to do with so-called nuclear water, which is radiator fluid, and whatnot, and try to get it back to its original state, which is a glass of water and green gelatin. Shocking, huh? Put a little bit of alcohol, put a little bit of vinegar, and you mix it all up and you get radiator fluid, which also has a little bit of what's called green lye in it. When I say lye, I'm talking about the powder lye and whatnot, which isn't called lye, by the way. It's actually something else. I mean, if you want that much cocaine sitting in your facility, you're a dumbass. But anyway, I didn't know why everyone's happy and unique or pissed off. But anyway, at that company, it's actually cocaine and sea salt, and they refer to it as being that of lime. The other part of it is the actual skin of the lime fruit mixed with cocaine, which is pretty much, like I said, it's radiator fluid on certain levels, and it's also sodium based on other levels, and it has a lot of different chemicals, and I want to say it has that in it, but it's not drinkable. Drink it, fall over dead, or feel really sick and puke. So the UCIC is fake. It's been fake since 1980. To try to establish something that the people wanted, with the fact of what it meant when you start saying, oh, I had this person mentally talking to me and whatnot, and all of a sudden he sits there and says in 1984 to 1985 to dump the UCIC UC program and to get rid of it, because a person in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and other people being sent out over the territories in 50 states is going to overrun you and start stealing money, property, try to develop a collection agency and whatnot. And being that this has all been told to the police, it kind of makes you wonder, did you slaughter and kill all the cops and police, military that were sent down here to pretty much facilitate some type of law and justice? And when I say law and justice, you just can't sit there and run to your neighbor and say, what do you want today to happen to this person? Or what should the jury, when you say jury, you're totally calling yourself something else. But anyway, what should the jury decide? Because I know a lot of you on the jury, with one case after another, reading about one case after another, and so forth, have taken bribes. So anyway, we're going to get back to UCIC. Money gets stored up, alright? Europe takes 18 cents, sometimes up to 21 cents off a person per dollar per item, okay? And what happens is all that money goes into a collection, which is referred to as a treasury. And when it's referred to the treasury or that of the vault holding that much, that is a person's paycheck, and it actually has some other things into it if it's incorporated into the treasury. But mainly the 6 cents is the person's paycheck per every item that you buy or sell. Food is not included in this. So any type of food or slaughterhouse or any type of killing of a living thing is not included. Some like to say the trees are a living thing. No, they grow, and they are taxed. But even without that, I'd still make more money than Donald Trump and Microsoft, Bill Gates, and Amazon would make. So I know this fund is floating around and whatnot. So you sit there and say, well, this is entrapment. No, entrapment is putting a trap out in the middle of the woods, covering it up, and setting a bait. So if I want to attract a deer, I put corn around a trap, and I cover it up with a little bit of leaves so he can't see the trap or she can't see the trap, and snap. All of a sudden he steps on it because he gets spooked. That's entrapment. So start learning the definitions and stop looking like an idiot with a bachelor's degree, which is not a bachelor's degree when you say, I have 2 years worth of experience, or not experience, but 2 years worth of education in business and 2 years education in technology, but you never specify what sort of technology, unless it's computer or machine or CNC, etc., etc. So you have 2 associates degree, which isn't an associate's degree, by the way. So when we get down to the breakdown of certain things, a lot of people are sounding really stupid. The UCIC UC is no more than a facility that takes on tax money. They wanted tax not to go to Europe. They want tax to be held here inside North Canada, which was on a trial basis. 70 to 80% of the tax does hit Europe. 10% of that tax stays inside this country. At 10% of that tax staying inside this country, the United States has to take a loan out, quote unquote reference, to get anywhere as far as, oh, I need a bridge because this one's falling down busted. But Europe doesn't do a lot of the background that it needs to do by coming over, taking pictures, evaluating, will this bridge last another 10 to 20 years? Are they lying? Or the people that ran their car off or blew the bottom out of a bridge and the car accidentally fell in the hole? Talking about another investigation that fell into a ravine, delirious ravine, and all of a sudden it crashed and exploded. I can tell you this: cars do not explode. They do not explode. You can run a car at 90 miles an hour, that car will not explode. You may crush the vehicle and the gas and the oil may mix, but it will not explode unless you have ignition. And when I say ignition, I'm not talking about ignition, okay? I'm talking about the fact of a lighter, a Zippo, some form of electricity that arcs so the car doesn't explode. If it goes there too fast, some say it implodes. No. Implosion is that which is sealed up and where that of a fire or an electrical device gets in there and explodes. So the question is, why do you drive automobile vehicles if they implode? Like I said, the fact that the government only takes anywhere from 6 to 18 to 21 cents from you, and the fact that the federal lies its rear end off because it's heavily overfunded. Social Security insurance is heavily, in some senses, overfunded if you want to be the person who collects Social Security and not do anything for 30 years, which is technically illegal. Let's see, the state. The state is only allowed to collect 6 cents tax off of that of certain things, which does not give the fund a lot of money, as far as the DMV and all that. So with all that said and whatnot, the other part the fund does do is every bit of money that you pay into that fund, okay, by that UCIC, you can actually get back in a certain way, in a certain percentage. Because UCIC, like I told you before, is supposedly collecting more than just automobile, build up an account for an automobile, build up an account for housing if it catches on fire, building up certain funds. They're not insurances. When you say insurance and you try to insure something, that's called establishing something that doesn't need to be established. In the end result, and I'll tell you this, since you guys want to be a bunch of dumbasses and believe everything that's put on the TV or put on paper or newspaper, the only thing that's going to show up alive is the paper itself. But it's not going to be alive, so delete erase alive. As far as your corpse, not coming here. That's all I gotta say.